So today my presentation will be on responsible fishing, technologies and employment entrepreneurship opportunities in marine fisheries sector in the context of PMMSY. Now we all know fisheries play an important role in our national economy for food security, for exports, for export food value, food security, employment, exports, etc. And when we look at the total fish production in 1920, it is 14.15 million metric tons, out of which 3.72 is marine and 10.43 inland. Now, over a period of time, the marine proportion of marine fish production has been coming down, and inland fish production has been going up. And our export revenue is in the 1920 46,662 crores, and realizing the huge untapped potential in the fisheries sector, Government of India started a mission which is called Neel Kranti Mission or the Blue Revolution in 2015. Now, after an year or so, the Government of India came up with operational guidelines of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, which is usually called PMMSY. That was in June 2020, which is a very flagship program of Government of India, which was launched with a total allotment of 20,000 and over crores for the 5-year period from 2021 to 24-25. So we have just started with the scheme, and along with the PMMSY for the development of fisheries, again we have an important scheme which is called the Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Fund of 7,522 crores. Now, since my presentation will be focused more on marine fisheries, so what I've done is I've taken up the major initiatives in the PMMSY document, major initiatives for marine fisheries development. Now, which include promotion of responsible fishing, deep sea fishing, infrastructure development, adoption of 100% certification and traceability, promotion of sea cage farming, seaweed cultivation, ornamental fisheries, and strengthening of regulatory framework. And a major thrust has also been given on the development of island fisheries. Now, the Government of India implements these schemes through the National Fisheries Development Board, and we all know the important role NFDB plays in achieving Blue Revolution, because that's the body which channelizes the Government of India funds, provides technical guidance, capacity building and creation of awareness, monitoring physical and financial progress of projects, undertake developmental activities for sustainable and responsible fisheries development, accelerate the overall growth of fisheries sector with the application of modern technology. Now, this slide I wanted to show just to highlight the fact how the switch over from main marine fish production to the inland fish production. Now, here, if you see in these graphs, in 1950-51, inland fish production was only about 29%, and the major share was from the marine sector, which was 71%. Now, that role has been reversed. Now, in 17-18, if you see, inland fish production is almost 71%, and marine is 29% of the total fish production. So now the focus is on inland fish production, but we cannot ignore the marine fish production, and there are other resources also in the marine fisheries which can be taken up under culture. So I'll come to that little later in the presentation. Now, what what is responsible fishing? Because in the PMMSY, there has been a lot of stress on development of responsible and sustainable development of fisheries. So we need to understand the significance of responsible fishing, which means that fishing which is conducted in a responsible manner without affecting the ecology environment while ensuring long-term sustainable yield and maximum socio-economic benefit to fishers. So it covers the resource, the ecology, environment, socio-economics, and the sustainable yield. Now, this entire responsible fishing, we put it under what is called the code, which is called the Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries, which is an internationally accepted code which aims at achieving sustainability. Again, as I said, preserving the environment, safeguarding biodiversity of ecosystem for present and future generations. So here it is, when we say present and future generations, that is where we talk about the sustainable development. So it is not the short-term yield which we need to focus on, it is the long-term sustainable yield, for which we have to promote eco-friendly fishing practices for responsible and sustainable fishing. Now in PMMSY scheme, there is a provision for need-based support to states and union territories for formulation and implementation of fisheries management plans in lines with the requirements of CCRF. Now, what I have done in my presentation is, first I will discuss about certain technologies related to conservation of marine fish resources, then increasing the efficiency of fishing operations, and technologies for the safety of fishermen. So all the technologies related to marine fisheries. Now, when we say, first I'll discuss about technologies for conservation of marine fish resources. Now, what is happening is, or what has happened over a period of time, is that we have been using non-selective fishing gears, which has resulted in a significant amount of bycatch, discards, and it has also created imbalance in the food web. Because what happens is, when we catch more of one type of fish, it is definitely at the cost of other fishes in the population. So we need to have very selective fish catching methods. Now, we know what is bycatch. That is basically the non-targeted catch. And then discards which are thrown back into the sea. And this sort of situation can be mitigated by using certain devices which are called the bycatch reduction devices. That means these are devices which are incorporated in a fishing gear to exclude or reduce non-targeted catch, and thereby making it more selective. Then when we use these devices, it reduces the negative impacts of shrimp trawling. And why I am saying shrimp trawling? Because the bycatch is maximum in shrimp trawls. So there, nowadays, we get more of other fish resources than shrimps. So that is a very not an alarming situation in the marine fisheries. So we need to reduce the negative impacts of trawling. Then once we use BRDs, then it improves the catch quality, and we need not spend that much time sorting the catch, lower fuel cost, etc., etc. So many advantages are there when we use BRDs. Now, as part of conservation and management measures, PMMSY promotes use of bycatch and juvenile fish excluders and turtle exclusion devices. Now, these are some of the bycatches. Here you can see protected endangered species on the left-hand side, turtle. Then some of the species which are caught also out of season, unwanted species and animals that are the wrong size, too big or too small to get into the nets. Then species of little or no commercial value, or it could even be plants and animals that may have been dislodged from the bottom of the ocean seafloor. That is the rightmost, lower rightmost. And on the bottom left, you can see the debris. Now, debris and plastic has been a real menace, and we all know the gravity of plastic pollution in the seas. So it's we need to make it more responsible fishing. Now, these are some of the bycatch reduction devices which have been developed by ICR Central Institute of Fisheries Technology, Cochin, turtle extruder devices and other fish eye type of BRD devices on the right hand side, which will exclude only the small fishes. So when we are talking about bycatch reduction devices, they could be basically what we are, how we are excluding the catch is based on the behavior of fishes and shrimps. Because when both the fishes and shrimps enter the trawl net, the shrimps will remain in the cod end where they get accumulated, and because they do not have the ability to swim back. Whereas the fishes can swim back from the cod end, and they can be released by using bycatch reduction devices. Now on the left hand side, this is the juvenile excluder, juvenile fish excluder and shrimp sorting device. Here you can see that the cod end is provided with an upper cod end, larger cod end, and a lower one, with smaller meshes. So the shrimps will remain in the lower cod end, lower part, and the fishes will be in the upper part, and the sorting. So there is no much time wasted on sorting. So then there is another one which is also again based on the difference in behavior of shrimps and fishes. Now, see, we all know that trawling is a very energy-intensive fishing method, and because of our indiscriminate fishing, it has created a lot of negative impacts. So we have to now look at the alternative fishing gears, which are more responsible in their nature of catching fish. So they are something like traps, then gill nets, and hooks and lines, which are also called low impact fuel efficient gears. That means they do not have negative impact on the environment as well as the substratum, and they are fuel efficient also. They are not energy intensive fishing methods. Then similarly, if at all the trawl has to be used, then there is a design of trawl which is called the semi-pelagic trawl, which has been again designed by CIFT, which is an eco-friendly trawl. Now here it is not dragging the bottom. It is slightly operated slightly off bottom, so that it doesn't disturb the benthic fauna. Because when a trawl is dragged over the sea bottom, the benthic fauna also gets damaged, and and it also damages the sea bottom. So this type of design also will reduce the harm created. Now then, there are certain technologies for improving fish catch. Now, the use of satellite technology in fishing is now quite popular. For example, there are what are called potential fishing zones, which are for identifying the fishing grounds, and they have been and they are mapped using remote sensing and GIS, Geographical Information System. Now, this make use of the it is based on the forecast which is derived from chlorophyll concentration and sea surface temperature. Now in PMMSY, there is support for use of satellite technology to complement the fishing efforts of marine fishermen. in partnership with INCOIS, which is the main organization for disseminating PFSETs and according training to them for adoption of PFSET advisories. Now, this PFSET advice, because of PFSET advisories, the fishermen do not waste much time reaching the fishing grounds because they know exactly which ground is more productive on a particular day. This is issued daily, and fishermen can approach or do fishing based on the advisory. Now, in PMMSY, the support to fishermen in terms of cost, that is one PFSET device per beneficiary. That is for installation and maintenance of PFSET devices and network. So the fishermen can take advantage of this provision by getting PFSET device. Now, on a larger scale, like if there is a provision for installing electronic display board in like fisheries cooperative societies or any other fisheries related organization where the benefit can be utilized by more fishermen by going to the cooperative society and looking at the electronic display board, which will indicate, it will give information on the ocean state forecast, and it also provides a siren to alert in case of any danger. So which means that particular day they should not be going for fishing. So this is so what the PFSET does is it saves on fuel cost and reduction in searching time and improves safety of fishers so that they do not venture for fishing during adverse weather. Now, coming to technologies for improving efficiency of fishing operations. We are all aware of what a GPS does, which is the Global Positioning System. So it's a space-based global navigation satellite system that provides the location and time information. Now, what we generally use is the receiver. That is the user segment. Then there is a space segment of the satellite, and then the ground control segment. Now, the PMMSY provides support for usage of navigation and position monitoring systems. Now, as I said, the space technology, the usage of space technologies is increasing day by day. So we are all aware how remote sensing, GIS and GPS usage has increased over the years. And the people have been benefited by using them in the fisheries sector. Now, GIS is a computer-based system, which is also again it provides an electronic representation of information, and we can use it for analysis of fish distribution and abundance in relation to environmental parameters, to assess proportion of juveniles, and there can be several thematic maps can be prepared using this geographical information system. In the culture system, it can be used for site selection of brackish water aquaculture. Now, this is just showing the components of GIS, which has got a software, then hardware, people, methods, data, how the data is collected, primary data, and based on the secondary data, the data is analyzed, etc. Now, when we look at the application, it also, we can, on the right-hand side, you can see these are the type of thematic maps which can be generated using GIS. So this helps in the fisheries management. Like we can easily make out what is the fishing catch and effort, and then it can also be used for marine habitat mapping in mariculture. So many other applications are there which GIS helps. And Now coming to deep sea fishing technologies, but before that, I just want the participants to see what is our revalidated fisheries potential. Because earlier it was somewhere around 4.41 million metric tons, but now an expert committee has again revalidated that potential in somewhere in 2018, which has brought the figure up to 7.1. That means in the left-hand side, you can see these are the conventional resources. So, which of course we are aware the pelagic is the maximum, that is almost about 50%, and then the demersal 42, and the others are island and other areas. And in the non-conventional resources, it is the potential is 1.85. Conventional is 5.31 and the non-conventional is 1.85. So total adds up to 7.1 million metric tons. And among the non-conventional resources, the majority of the potential resources are deep sea mycophytes and oceanic squids and jellyfish. So, which means now why I showed that figure is that we need to now harness the deep sea fishery resources, because we have already rather overexploited our territorial waters. So now there is need to move into the deep sea, and for which even PMMSY has got a lot of support for the development of deep sea fisheries. Now in deep sea fisheries, the deep sea resources, we have high-priced tuna resources, which has got a good international market. And another point to be noted is that the area of EEZ around Andaman and Nicobar accounts for 30% of the total EEZ area. The production from the EEZ of these islands is only about 1% of the estimated potential. So there is a huge scope there. That's why in the PMMSY also there is a thrust on development of island fisheries. Now for acquisition of deep sea fishing vessels, there is a scheme for converting the traditional fishing boats to deep sea fishing vessels with proper modernization to go into the deeper waters. So promotion of technologically advanced fishing vessels and gear for fishermen groups through state and union territories. Then training and capacity, because deep sea fishing, the fishers, if they have to fish in the deeper waters, they need to undergo some training. So that also there is a provision. And the deep sea fishing vessel is a replacement of the existing bottom trawler, because what is happening is we are already having excess fishing capacity in our country. So we cannot afford to add to the number of fishing vessels. So what the best option is to replace the existing fishing vessels with the upgraded vessels. So that's what even in the new scheme, support for upgradation of existing fishing vessels to make them eligible for export competency and capable of doing resource specific deep sea fishing. So resource specific, when you say, that means it's a highly selective fishing method. So that is called a responsible way of harvesting the fish. And an important addition, just as we are all aware of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, so in the sea also now it is proposed to fit the fishing vessels with bio toilets. So this is a very good step which will maintain the hygiene and prevent the spread of diseases, prevention of pollution, etc. So it's a the fishing vessels will be all the motorized and mechanized fishing vessels. They will be fitted with bio toilets, and there is a provision in the scheme. Now, similarly, technologies for energy conservation, because as I said, especially methods like trawling are highly energy intensive. And so there is a need for conservation of the energy wherever possible. So it is done through several means, like we can, in the case of, if we talk about vessel technology, then the changing the optimization of the hull, then choice of engines, and propeller design. Now, this is a quart nozzle, which you can see here, which improves the energy conservation. It gives upward thrust, so the energy consumed is lesser. So an intelligent selection of machinery for the boats is very important, and use of solar energy. Now, this is a very new area, use of solar energy, though we have been using it, but now the government is also focusing, giving a thrust on wherever solar energy can be used, that is sort of encouraged. So, and basically the solar energy, at least for the time being, these are being used for inland fishing and aquatourism, because the solar panels fitted on the vessel can cater to the, right now it is only catering to the navigational lights, cabin lights, etc., or at the most operating communication devices. Now, in again coming to the energy conservation, another way of conserving energy is by adoption of advanced technology, which I have already said, the GPS, how it helps to reach directly to the fishing ground, and then use of GIS, use of remote sensing technology, like we have said, how one can directly go to the fishing ground, so energy is not wasted. Then even the acoustic instruments, echo sounder, sonar, gear monitoring systems, all these help in the to save energy. Now, coming to technologies for strengthening regulatory framework of fisheries management, in this, one of the key components is having a robust MCS, that's called monitoring, control, and surveillance. And in PMNSY, there is a provision for creation and management of necessary infrastructure facilities and networks for MCS. So this is a very good step, because many times it is very difficult to track vessels, especially in case of sometimes under adverse weather accidents, and considering the safety of fishermen. This provision of MCS. Now, MCS basically is monitoring, control, and surveillance. In this, the devices which are used are, one is DAT, that is distress alert transmitter, and as per the scheme, maximum of 2 devices, one distress alert transmitter and one of any one of the communication or tracking devices, and also support is provided for safety kits. So this takes care of the safety and security of the vessel as well as the fishers. Now, this is the distress alert transmitter, one design, and which has been developed by ISRO. And this it's very easy to operate. The fishermen, based on what is the emergency, they can press the button. So it is just by press of button they can indicate their emergency position, whether there is a fire in the boat, or whether the boat is sinking, or they need any medical help or any other emergency. By click of a button, the distress alert transmitter transmits the message. Similarly, like a distress alert transmitter, now we also have a vessel monitoring system, which is a component of the MCS. Vessel VMS is a part of the MCS. Now this VMS, what it does is, it is again based on the space technology, and this will help to regulate the deep sea fishing vessels and safety of fishing vessels. Now, under PMMSY, there is a support which is provided for VMS, equipped with requisite communication and safety devices for traditional and motorized fishing vessels. Now, even for if some patrol boat, if it has to reach the area where there is an emergency, or whatever may be the reason for the patrol boat to go to that area, they can go directly using the VMS, because it gives directly the latitude, longitude of the place. So this is again another measure. Now coming to the certification, accreditation, traceability and labeling. Now we know that there is so much of emphasis on the traceability, and now this has happened because the fishing grounds have become unsustainable now. So it is very necessary to understand from where the fish is caught, what is coming to our table, from what is its origin. So that is the traceability, and there should be a certification given to any fishery, and the basic principles of this certification is, there are three principles. One is that it should be from a sustainable fish stock. That means the fishing to be done from sustainable fish stocks, which should minimize environmental impacts, and it should be effectively managed. Right now we have and eco-labeling is a market-based tool to promote sustainable use of fish resources. So eco-label products, which mean that the fish which is being consumed has been caught from a sustainable fishing ground. And the certification agencies which are the most credibility, sustainability standards for wild fish caught are Marine Stewardship Council, that is MSC, and Fred of Seas, FOS. Now, this support for infrastructure related to certification, accreditation, traceability and labeling fish is also provided in the PMMSY. And there is also provision to educate the fishers on what is the importance of this traceability and what is responsible fishing, because they go hand in hand, responsible fishing and the eco-labeling. It is they are not mutually exclusive. Both are complementing each other. Now this is all about the capture fisheries. I will come to the now because marine fisheries sector has both capture and culture. So I have shown in the first few slides that the proportion of marine fisheries is coming down. So we need to augment that through mariculture. So it is now the stress given is on the culture aspects. Now the global mariculture production, including the seaweeds, is about 54 million ton, which constituted more than 50% of the aquaculture production. Now this is sea cage farming is an option for increasing seafood production. Now sea cage farming, as we all know, it has been initiated by CMFRI with the support of NFDB, and right now or presently the cage farming of cobia, pompano, Asian sea bass and grouper. This is becoming popular with fishermen groups and entrepreneurs along the Indian coast. Now these are the targeted fish species for mariculture: cobia, silver pompano, sea bass, snappers, groupers and spiny lobsters. Now the another resource in the marine sector is the seaweed. Now we know the importance of seaweed because so many industrial products which are derived from seaweeds like agar-agar and argin. Also it is used in pharmaceutical products as food, fodder, fertilizer. So multi-use of seaweeds. And technologies are also available for important agrophytes like Gracilaria and Gelidella. So, and in this, the technologies have been standardized both net and rope culture. And the next one is development of ornamental and recreational fisheries. My previous speaker, Dr. Felix, has already dealt with the ornamental fisheries. Now it is one of the promising sectors to create employment and revenues. And we know that we have such vast ornamental resources, both in the marine and freshwater, and it provides an opportunity to set up small scale to large export-oriented setups. Now, PMMSY provides support to small, medium scale ornamental fish rearing unit. I'm only talking about the marine fish. These are available even for freshwater ornamental fish. Then integrated ornamental fish unit, breeding and rearing of marine fish, and promotion of recreational fisheries, which is a new area in open water bodies like seas. Now, this is about the technology part. Now, whatever I am going to discuss now, it is in relation to whatever has been discussed in the technologies, because most of the times we find that the business ideas are basically technology based. So to establish sustainable enterprises, we should have a good idea of what are the technologies available and how best they can be used to set up enterprises. Now, there are two organizations which are involved in our country, that is NFDB and ICAR. Now, ICAR has created a setup agribusiness incubation center for creating business enterprises by technology transfer and promoting innovation and ideas among entrepreneurs through establishment of Zonal Technology Management Center, ZT and ABI. So there are different centers which have been established, and NFDB on the other hand has invites proposals for entrepreneur models. It covers both fisheries and aquaculture, and I'm dealing only with, because somebody else would have already dealt with aquaculture, I'm not sure, but in fisheries, especially in the marine fisheries. So these are available for multiple stakeholders under PMMSY for fishers, fish farmers, self-help groups, fisheries cooperatives, joint liability groups, FFPOs, individual entrepreneurs, and private firms. So everybody is covered. So whoever has some innovative ideas can get benefits from the NFDB and other funding agencies. And marine fisheries development proposals in the following areas. That's what I have analyzed from the PMMSY. It is available for cage culture, seaweed cultivation, processing and marketing, ornamental fisheries branding and marketing, recreational fisheries, IT applications, extension services. Now, fisheries incubation, just a little about fisheries incubation centers, that is, they are normally called FIC, supported under PMMSY, both through government and private sector. Now, it creates new businesses, entrepreneurs development and employment opportunities in fisheries. Now, what it does is it provides opportunities to the incubators to showcase their innovations and innovative ideas, technologies in fisheries, and commercialize them for the benefit of fishers. And on successful completion of this pilot project, they can also get funding from funding agencies, and NFDB facilitates funding. Now, for this, the building space and necessary facilities are also provided at some pay and use basis. So it's a very good setup if somebody has innovative ideas or wants to commercialize the technology which they have developed. So this is a very good provision. Now, there are employment opportunities even in certain gear and craft technologies. Like we all know fishing nets, whether it is aquaculture or fishing nets are an integral part. And this manufacture of nets, we are aware there are very large houses like Garvares who produce large scale net manufacture, and also in fishing villages it is an artisanal activity. And we all know that the demand for nets is never going to fade away. It will always be increasing. So the industries export market fishing nets, traps, cages, and other fishing gears to many of the countries, and design and manufacture of culture cages. So there are huge opportunities for employment and revenue in any of these areas, whether it is design of nets or manufacture of cages, manufacture of fishing nets, etc. And even what I have discussed in the previous slides, there are, even in responsible fishing, there are employment opportunities as well as entrepreneurship. Now, I've already discussed about the technical innovations in fishing gears, the instrumentation, and the modern gadgets which are used on the fishing vessels, etc. So here there is a lot of scope for having new ideas to improvise these machineries, and GIS-based resource mapping. Here also there is a good opportunity for employment, because GIS is catching up on it is catching up fast, and we also have entrepreneur-ready fishing technologies developed by CIP in the construction of semi-pelagic trawl, which I have already discussed, then turtle explorer device, then device for a juvenile fish explorer comes sim sorting, and foldable traps. So all this I have already discussed. What I mean to say is there is a lot of scope for either developing some business models or employment opportunities. Now coming to craft fabrication, there are employment opportunities as well as scope for entrepreneurship. Now craft mainly in capture fishery, and we all know there are different types of fishing vessels, from wood to ferrocement, FRP, steel, etc. And each of the material, whatever the material, the construction, operation, repairs and maintenance requires huge manpower. So there is good scope for employment. And even in this field, CIFT has come out with entrepreneur-ready technologies for the construction of fuel-efficient multi-purpose vessel for deep-sea fishing. This is important because now under PMMSY also there is thrust for deep-sea fishing technologies. Then treated rubber wood, FRP coated rubber wood cano, treated coconut wood cano, basically the alternate materials. And also the sunboard. Now here even when it comes to the sunboard, like for example solar panels, so there is a huge possibility there also of some entrepreneurship scope. Then marine ornamental fish trade. Now marine aquarium, we all know it's now a multi-million-dollar industry which offers livelihood prospects to people. And now the Indian ornamental fish trade mostly deals with the freshwater, as my previous speaker has also mentioned, 80% of which, and of which about 98% are cultured and 2% captured from wild. Here there may be some plus or minus 5% difference. And the remaining 20% are marine fishes, of which 98% are captured and 2% cultured. So this is also a good employment opportunity or entrepreneurship to develop some aquarium trade, and especially for women folk. Now seaweed cultivation, again one of the priority areas for fisheries development, and especially again the fishermen. And there are a lot of self-help groups who are already doing seaweed cultivation in states like Tamil Nadu, and technologies are also available. So this area also offers huge employment opportunities, especially women fisher folk. Now, coming to the almost the final slides, fisheries extension and support services. Here, there is plenty of scope for employment because this is a new setup which has been proposed in the PMMSY, where the Fisheries Extension Services Center, which are like a one-stop solution for providing requisite services to fishers and fish farmers. Now, the multi-purpose workers, Sagar Mitras, now they are called multi-purpose workers because they have to cater to different types of activities in coastal fishing villages, where they have to provide multiple support services to the marine fishermen. So one Sagar Mitra per marine coastal fishing village in the maritime state, who will report to the designated fisheries officer within the district. Now this Sagar Mitra will help in strengthening of fisheries database. That means fish data collection or the documentation, then database of fishers, that is the fishers survey, both the marine and inland, census of all these fishers. So, and here the beneficiaries are young fisheries professionals having good knowledge of fisheries and aquaculture. So here there is ample scope for employment opportunities in the marine sector. Now this is summarizing what PMMSY has for marine fisheries development, where I have also I would also say there are huge employment opportunities and scope for entrepreneurship. Now, one is, I've already discussed the details, but this is just summarizing what are the activities under which support is available. Establishment of open sea cages, then establishment of seaweed culture rafts, including the inputs. Then establishment of seaweed culture with monoline or tube net method, including inputs. Bivalve cultivation, for example, like mussels, clams, pearls, etc. Then establishment of small marine finfish hatcheries, construction of large marine finfish hatcheries, marine finfish nurseries. Again, I would like to make it clear, I have only taken out the marine sector activities. There are several other which are possibilities are there in the inland sector also. Now, this is not part of my presentation. Just I thought I'll just say just one or two lines about this, which is called a big self. It has not reached the status of an industry in India, but we are all reading or there are news items emerging that so many of the countries are now involved in going for development of plant-based, cell-based seafood as an alternative to seafood, because basically when we are talking about this environment pollution or like that, all the traditional our traditional methods of culture release some amount of carbon emissions. So the people who take up this type of seafood, they base their arguments on improving the quality of aquatic environment by going to an alternative industry. So this is this is not covered in PMMSY also. I just thought I'll just this is one area which is coming up in a big way in countries abroad, and one Good Food Institute which has already signed an MOU with the Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, for Center of Excellence in Cellular Agriculture. So this concept is slowly picking up. It's at a very nascent stage, and just I have covered this in my book, which has been published just a few months back, titled "Sustainable Blue Revolution India: Way Forward." Myself and Dr. Sridhar Rajpatar, which is published by Narendra Publishing House. There is a chapter which is dedicated to plant-based and seafood, plant-based and cell-based seafood. So this is all what I have to share, and thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam, for your detailed presentations on the PMSY scheme on marine sector, and also you have highlights the future of this aqua industry, or maybe the aspects what we can think forward in coming days, so that we can also go forward on such kind of aspect and make ourselves also a kind of a enterprising, promising sector within the aqua culture area. So thanks once again, madam, for your lovely detailed presentations on eminent speaker, please.
A very good evening, and I highly appreciate Devtan sir for bringing Felix sir and Lata ma'am. It's been 3 years we listened to Lata ma'am's class, so we are very happy. I just got some query. It's not a doubt or question. The other resources we are using to level some resources we are exploiting more, some resources we are exploiting under, but still the seaweed resources we are not. It is in its infancy stage. Mostly we are using it for the laboratory, these industrial applications. So means how we can. My question is both for Lata ma'am and Felix sir. How we can popularize, that means in other countries it already came to processed food, the dietary things. So how we can popularize seaweed cultivation and seaweed diet in the market. So how it can be done? That is my query.
Yeah, can I answer? Yeah, one way is to see, first of all, seaweed has never been a major resource in India, at least for the last few years, but which has got a high potential. So actually the...
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yeah, can you hear?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear.
Yeah, so what has happened is seaweed was in the earlier years, it was never considered as a major marine resource. Now we know the importance of seaweeds, whether it is in food or in the industry. And so there is a need to create awareness. First thing is create awareness, because how do you market a product? First of all, you have to know it's, people have to realize that it is beneficial for them if it's a food product. So we need to do a lot of promotion for spreading the word that spreading the word about the what do you call the benefits of seaweeds. So that is most important. And I think some of the areas like in Tamil Nadu and other some districts in Tamil Nadu, they are doing quite well, especially the self-help groups of women. So that should not be an issue. Only thing is it needs more promotion. That's what I feel. We have good resources, seaweeds in our country, and we need to sensitize the population about its benefits. That's what I feel.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. If anybody want to ask any more questions, can ask. We'll take the last question. Maybe if nobody want to ask, I want to ask one question to ma'am and sir both together. How you think these young generations who are coming to fisheries sector, the policy makers to make the policies to make more people in aqua sector. We have lots of scheme, we have lots of money investing project, we have lots of policies, but we don't have good people to work at the ground level. To make any policy, to make any project successful, we need quality people also. For that aspect, maybe you both are now holding good positions on lots of policy implementations. So how you think, how best we can bring down the quality people inside our fisheries professionals and to make it successful enterprise in coming days?
From my side, Mr. Deptan, can you hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Please.
What I would suggest is we should give more focus on skill sets. Skills. So, because skill set is very important for any profession, whether it's a grassroots level or a higher level, skill set is important. So, we need to give more emphasis in our syllabus because it starts from the education. So, we need to give more emphasis on developing skills.
Yes.
When they are students. So that when they are skilled, they will also be proud to be part of any enterprise. Whether any enterprise or even if they are employed somewhere, they will be equipped to do that job.
Madam, to supplement this, I would add, as Madam has told, that fisheries incubation centers, that we have to create a lot of incubation centers because most of the youngsters are hesitant to invest the money. They are ready to do the job, but they are not ready to invest so much money on the fisheries and aquaculture sector. So we must create a lot of fisheries incubation centers, and these incubation centers should be given at lowest lease rate. The youngsters should be given opportunity to use the facility and get the skill training, as Madam has told. They should get a lot of skills. Only the possibility is by creating more incubation centers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. You put a very impactful thoughts. And now we'll take a question from Azad sir. Azad sir, please.
Hello. Hello, Dr. Lata madam. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
I missed seeing you because I was in SIBA, the ICR system, for about 21 years.
Okay.
Somehow, we missed meeting also.
So
it's nice to see you here.
Now where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Kuwait from last 16 years.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I'm in Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research.
Nice to hear.
It's a very it's a very nice presentation, both by Felix and Lata ma'am. Ma'am, this marine production, marine aquaculture production, whatever the initiatives we take and the government takes initiative, policies and all, the involvement of people will be mostly concentrated in the coastal zone, not going beyond maybe 50 meters or something. So ultimately we will be polluting the whole coastal belt. And to go into offshore, it is more capital intensive and maybe requires more skills and things like that. So what's your suggestion on these?
See, that's what in my presentation I said, because now there is no scope for fishing in the territorial waters. I think we must all admit that, that there is not much scope there. So deep sea fishing, the government is encouraging to convert the traditional boats with setting up modern machinery on the traditional boats and converting them into tuna longliners or gill netters. So there are two things in this. One is when you shift to long lining or gill netters, we are actually reducing the pollution in the marine waters because they are less energy intensive, and they are also considered low impact on the stratum. So that is why the government is thinking on these lines. I agree that there will be a hesitation because everybody wants to be in the coastal area and they do not want to venture into the deeper waters because fishing as such it's a very tedious activity. So going into the deeper waters and remaining in the sea for very long, and actually the problem is not with the I would say not with the fishing per se. The problem is with the uncertainty, I would say, of the market for those fishes. So simultaneously, we also need to take up marketing of these deep sea fish resources because that there is
offshore aquaculture also. Offshore aquaculture.
Yeah, correct. Those also because there are so many departments involved, in
that's
the
right.
right from getting the
EPA, coastal zone management, so many things.
Yes, so many, and we are always bogged down by the
Yeah.
the system, completing the system formalities. So,
Thank you, madam.
But,
Nice presentation.
thank you.
Thank you so much once again to our eminent speaker, Dr. Lata Shuman Madam, Dr. N. Felix sir. Today was a great session and great presentation series on Teachers' Day, and our all participants, they have enjoyed, they have put their feedbacks, and all these feedbacks shows that our speakers are till today very active in their thoughts, active in their value additions in fisheries sector, and also they are active in their curriculum activities, the way they are making this sector vibrant in coming days. Once again, from Aqua Doctor Solution and Aqua One Center, Kolkata, I give my best wishes to both of our speakers. We wish this in coming days, we all together, joint hands together and mix this aqua sector not only vibrant in India, also vibrant throughout the world, saying that India can do along with when other people also can do. Thanks once again for all the participants, all the speakers, all the teachers, all the experts who have joined from throughout the world. We wish that these sessions in coming days also will also give you best supports to organize and complete our 30 days, 30 speaker, 30 sessions in long way. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. With these words, I conclude these sessions once again, giving our best greetings to our both speakers and wish them a good, healthy, prosperous life in coming days. Thanks once again to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Deptana Burman. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.